Hello. This episode is dedicated to those of you out there who are supporting cancer warriors or survivors or other people faced with life-challenging illnesses. And I wanted to dedicate this episode specifically to the challenges and, some of the surprises that you face, because I know that helping and supporting a loved one during and after a diagnosis is a very sensitive place to be. So if someone you know is recently diagnosed, there are some things that I think you should know as you navigate the unknown. And I'll start out by acknowledging that this is by no means meant to be a literal handbook or a step-by-step guide. Because in reality, we know there's no hard, fast rules for navigating these waters. But first, I want to talk about how important it is to remove expectations that you may have about how your loved one maybe should react or feel or behave after receiving their diagnosis. Because, everyone's reactions will be different and may not be what you expect. In fact, they might even be the opposite of how they usually behave or respond in stressful situations. But, hearing that you have cancer, no matter what kind, no matter how advanced it is, it puts most people in panic mode. It's scary. And it can send an otherwise level-headed person into a complete tailspin. Or it could take someone days or weeks to process. They might even show, little or no reaction or emotion at all, or ever, depending on, what they're like. Or if they're like me, maybe take a few days to process the news, put on a brave face for a little while, and then spend a few days in a tailspin, only to recover later. But the point is everybody responds to a crisis in different ways. So it is important to remember that the best thing that you can do to help your loved one in a time like this is just be there for them. Listen, give them time and space to process whatever it is that they feel, whenever it is that they feel it. It can take weeks, to absorb and process what's going on and what you've heard. And even then, their demeanor and their outlook may change from 1 minute to the next, or 1 hour to the next, or by day or by week for that matter. So again, adjust your expectations. And I would say even expect them to go through stages of grief, right? Because facing a life-changing diagnosis, essentially, this is what happens. We experience sadness. There's definitely anger, right? Resentment. And at some point, hopefully, some acceptance. Right? But allow them the space and the time to traverse these uncharted waters and this roller coaster, as it may be, without judgment, right? And don't nag them. And again, just remove your expectations for how you think they should behave and handle this. That is probably the most important thing to emphasize here. So expect the unexpected and be prepared for a roller coaster of emotions and maybe some delayed reactions. The second point I want to talk about is the importance of respecting their wishes, specifically with regard to their treatment. And even if you don't agree with them, right, there's always a possibility that your loved one may not want the type of treatment that you believe is best for them. And they may not even want any treatment at all. And, to some, that can seem mind-blowing, unfathomable. You may even feel the need to try and educate them or persuade them or convince them, right, that one route or option is better than another. But I would caution you in doing so because it is a very personal decision. Now, I cannot tell you how many people I have heard from with the same or similar diagnosis to myself, each with a completely different opinion on what type of treatment they wanted to receive, if any at all. And there are dozens of reasons for each of their perspectives, none of them right or wrong, right? It's completely personal choice and decision. But it took me a minute to wrap my own mind around that, just because, again, for me personally, I did not hesitate to accept the treatment protocol that was recommended by my first oncologist. It was, tried and true, traditional, fantastic outcomes. And that's what the majority of patients with, stage 4 HER2 positive breast cancer, blah, blah, blah. That's what everybody's doing, basically. So in my eyes, it was a no-brainer. But when I learned that there were women out there who are refusing this treatment, I could not imagine why. But here's what I've learned. It doesn't matter why, right? All that matters is that they have the ability to choose, just like you would if you were in their shoes. Now, I will say that as a loved one, if their choice has you puzzled and perplexed, right, there is no harm in making sure that they understand all of their options so that they can make an educated, informed decision about their treatment options, right? Especially if their oncologist or their doctor had only maybe one option mentioned, right? And that was what I experienced. The doctor said, this is how we treat it. This is what we do. This is your option, period. There were no alternatives. So it is completely acceptable to ask, the doctor as many questions as you like. And it's also expected that you should get multiple opinions, right? Not just a second opinion, but a third or a fourth or a fifth, however many that you and your loved one want, right? That way, they not only have the chance to learn about any variations in treatment protocols, but also the difference in the bedside manner of the doctor and the personality of the support staff. Because as I mentioned in my last episode about breaking up with my oncologist, they are very critical as you both traverse this journey, right, through cancer treatment and beyond. It matters who you're getting treatment with almost as much as the type of treatment that you're looking for. So, once they've had the opportunity to process all of the information on various treatment options and have an understanding of, why some might be better than others, that's when I recommend taking a step back, letting them make their choice and accepting their choice, even if it is not what you would choose. And I know that can be hard and heartbreaking, right? It could be whether to treat or not to treat, and whether it be with traditional medicine or alternative or a combination of the two. But as hard as it might be, try to understand their perspective and focus more on how to make their time and their life as comfortable and happy and fulfilling as possible, even if what they want is different from what you would want if you were in their shoes. The third and most critical point that I want to cover next is that this diagnosis has the ability to, and very high likelihood, of changing your loved one forever. And I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying that when it comes to cancer, going through a diagnosis and a treatment and that entire process, I think it is extremely important to understand going into this that there is no going back to normal, right? There is no the old me or old them. Cancer turns your life upside down in innumerable ways. But even after the treatment is over, most cancer warriors and survivors, they don't typically just go back to normal as if they had the flu and now it's gone, or they have a tumor removed and now it's out. And so bada bing, things go back to normal. That is, if that is a perception that you have or had, or anyone that you ever know or talk to in this situation has, it's critical that you help them adjust, again, their expectations, because it's unfair to allow anyone, whether you're a supporter of a cancer survivor warrior or you are the cancer warrior yourself, you're doing this warrior a disservice by expecting this person to go back to the way they were and be who they were before this whole journey started. And I am telling you this because I have seen it in my own life and the way that my own loved ones have treated me as if, well, it's over. Now we're done. Okay, back to normal. No, there is no back to normal, right? There are so many things that happen to our minds, our bodies, our physiology after treatment that cause permanent physical, mental, emotional, psyche changes, right? So just know there may never be a back to normal. Instead, okay, and here's what I want you to focus on, help your loved one find their new normal, right? And please be patient and compassionate, and remember and remind them, if they need reminding, that it's okay to not feel okay. And it's okay to not feel normal, because it may never happen. So let me give you an example. I am post first chemo treatment. I had a recurrence earlier this year, undergoing second line treatment. My latest scans and tests show all is clear, but it's not over, right? This is an ongoing journey that I will be living the rest of my life as a stage 4 cancer warrior. And I have good days and bad days. There are days when I feel like throwing a party and socializing. And there are days when I cannot and will not even reply to a text message from a loved one. I just won't. There are days when I can go jog around the block with my dog. I have a burst of energy. And then there are days when I cannot and will not do the dishes or the laundry. I won't pick up anything off the floor. And there are days that I can remember every name of every person I've ever met since kindergarten. And then there are days when I can barely form a sentence. So just let that sit for a second. This is someone who's been through 2 times breast cancer, 2 types of treatment, post, lost the hair, coming back, whatever. I've been on this journey well over a year and a half now. And do you know how much I long for the old me, the back to normal? It has taken me the better part of this year to accept that how I am right now is good enough, and not to feel bad and not to pressure myself to feel how I used to feel. The old spunk, the old zip, the old whatever it was, you know what? Sayonara, it's gone. And I sometimes wonder if my friends and family realize that. I spread my good news on social media and I share, hey, clear scans, yay, that's great, that's wonderful. And everybody's happy for me and I know that they are, and I love them for their support and it's great. But I also, sometimes I see hints that indicate maybe they think I should act like I've always acted. And you know what? I can't. And I don't know that I ever will be. So if you are the loved one of someone that can relate to this, you're going through either its early stages, late stages, it doesn't matter where you are in this journey, please, you have to understand that no matter what your loved one has gone through or is going through, you need to be compassionate, and please do not pressure them to feel okay or better. If you're just checking on them just to check on them because you love them and you're just concerned, great. But don't set expectations around being at a certain place at a certain time in a certain thing because that's what the rest of the family is doing. Well, you know what? The rest of the family didn't deal with what I dealt with. And if I want to sit home and sleep through Thanksgiving, then by golly, I should be allowed to do that. And I don't want other people out there feeling these feelings of pressure and obligation when the best thing you can do to help your body heal is listen to your body. And if your body says you need to sleep, then you need to sleep. Now, I mentioned earlier about trying to remove expectations, right? About how they may feel and giving them space to feel however it is they feel, whether that's good, bad, or otherwise, right? The same holds true for removing expectations around how they should behave and basically expect their personality and their outlook on life to change. Hell, expect them to become a completely different person for that matter. The universal truth about cancer is that for most people, it is a life-changing event, period, full stop. It is a life-changing event. That means it changes your life. That means you aren't going back. You are not the same. You will be different. So do not be surprised if you find that their outlook on life or perspective changes drastically. So try to be open and receptive to this new version of themselves that is evolving and will continue to evolve, just like you continue to show compassion and acceptance at their varying levels of energy, right? Or enthusiasm, or what they can and can't do. Expect to be surprised by new choices, different choices, new behaviors, new plans, a desire and a need to do things differently, maybe even drastically. And try your best, I'm underlining this, try not to be shocked, try not to be disappointed. God, that really is aggravating. Try not to react at all. Just accept and embrace who they are, however they choose to show up, with little energy or a lot of energy, and just go with the flow. And try not to be offended or hurt by any of it. Because what's going on with them and their physical changes have nothing to do with you or your expectations or family traditions or gatherings, and everything to do with what amounts to be a near-death experience. When you are faced with a cancer diagnosis, the reality of death hits home in a way that most people cannot fathom, and you cannot relate to it. You can try all day long to put yourself in their shoes and be empathetic. Oh, you made it through chemo. Yeah, that must have been so hard for you. You will never have the same perspective unless it happens to you. And even if their cancer is not widespread, it's caught early, as we say, and the prognosis is great. And there's an element, of I'll say hope, right? And that the outcomes are positive. There is still this element of fear, of recurrence. Hello, I got a clean bill of health for all of 5-6 months, and it was back again? The fear doesn't go away. And the realization that death may come sooner than you expected or want to, that changes people. It changes people. That is near death. That is death every day talking to you, taunting you. Hey, motherfucker. And if you don't think it is a mind F to deal with that on a daily basis, and you want people to just show up as usual, hi, how you doing? Come on. Come on. And I'm saying this with enthusiasm and conviction and passion because I just need people out there to know and understand that helping people that you love through and beyond cancer and chemo and treatment is more than just, oh, it's okay. What can I bring you? What do you need? Oh, no, it's more than that. This is life-changing shit, people. And if I don't have the energy to call you back or text you back, get over it and have some compassion. I mean, getting diagnosed doesn't matter what stage, but I can tell you from my personal experience, it changed my life. It changed how I live every freaking day from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. It changed the food that I buy at the store. It changes what I drink. It changes the products that I put on my face, my skin, and my body. It changes what I spend money on. It changes where I go. It changes who I spend time with. It changed how I prioritize everything in my life, my health, my sleep, and my entire perspective on everything. From work to food to family to life, you name it. And it changed how I felt about people. Family, friends, coworkers, doesn't matter who it is. People who hurt me, people who left me, people who annoyed me, people who made me angry. I felt this overwhelming feeling of forgiveness and a desire to let go of grievances that I'd held against them for years. Because when you're dying, it doesn't matter. Cancer also softened me in that the trivial things that used to annoy me in the past, they don't anymore. I can let the petty things go because my perspective has changed and I can see past the things that don't matter. I mean, it changes you. And you don't care anymore about the superficial things that used to fill your time. You only care about the things that matter. And at the same time that it softened me towards, some things, it also lowered my threshold and my tolerance for bullshit. It has made me so much less passive and tolerant of bad behavior and nonsense and pettiness and fill in the blank, and so much faster to defend what is best for me, my peace, my rights, my health, and fiercely defending the things that really matter. So if you are the loved one of someone facing a diagnosis, or who has faced a diagnosis or a cancer journey, please be aware and be mindful. I beg of you, be mindful of the fact that their perspective on many things may change or may have already changed. Someone who once wanted everybody over may now want solitude. Someone who was once a homebody may now want to travel, or vice versa. And someone who used to be the best gift giver may now maybe they don't want to give gifts anymore. But if you're noticing changes, they don't answer your texts, or, whatever the behavior is that has changed, ask them about it lovingly. Don't attack. Do not attack. But say, you know what? I'm trying to understand. You may learn something new and fascinating about their new perspective on life that makes you think twice about what you have always believed, and maybe makes you think about things a little differently too. So I'm going to wrap it up after all of this, just by saying, with all of the ups and downs that come with navigating a cancer diagnosis and a treatment, simply be aware that this is not a one and done medical procedure or a treatment process with a beginning and an end. Just because someone is, quote, done with treatment or done with radiation or done with surgery, their road and their struggles and their challenges continue. It is a life-changing event that impacts survivors and warriors in more ways than you can imagine. So just because they've finished or they're in remission and all that's great news and you can celebrate, doesn't mean that they are the same person you once knew. You need to change your expectations, please. More than likely, they have become a new version of themselves, maybe only in subtle ways and maybe in extreme and drastic ways, but different. And they will never be back to normal. There is only a new normal for them. So if they don't want to spend holidays in the way that they used to, let it go. And if you're supporting someone through their cancer journey, the best thing you can do is lovingly listen, respect them, accept whatever it is that they want to do whenever they want to do it, offer them support whenever they need it, however they need it, without any judgment, without any pressure, and without any commentary. The one thing I want you to remember is that this journey will change them forever. And it may even change you as well. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please visit www.thesecrettothriving.com and fill out the guest request form.